There are 5 major hospitals in the city of Madison, and I've been to all 5. And on just about every floor, they will allow me to enter. One of my major accomplishments has been learning the way that they number units and floors at UW Hospital so I can navigate successfully around that monstrous complex. Pastors go to hospitals. We visit people who are ill or undergoing surgery. And in so doing, we learn the unexpected truth that God draws especially near to those who are suffering. Of course, if God draws near, Satan is also close at hand in those moments. And when you are in distress, that old, crabby, self-centered, sinful nature of yours is likely to kick it into high gear. When you're lying on a hospital bed, you're likely to wonder, does God really exist? Does he care? Has he forgotten me? Why isn't he listening to my prayers? How come he's not giving me answers? Why? Why did he allow this to happen? What good purpose could he possibly have in putting me here and robbing me of so much seeming value or meaning in my life? When your pastors come to see you, we come first of all with a sympathetic ear. Yeah, we want to know what's going on, the medical details, of course we do. We're especially keyed in to listen to you and to learn about the condition of your soul. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. In regards to your physical health, we'll pray with you. We will entrust your bodily well-being to the maker of heaven and earth, the one who made and fashioned you, our Lord. In regards to the condition of your soul, though, we'll speak the promises of God. We'll point you to Jesus and remind you that our God is not disinterested, that he does in fact care, that he loves you so much that he sent his own Son to be the one who would bear our infirmities and carry our sorrows, that by his wounds we really are healed. Of course, there are other moments of distress that take place outside of the hospital. Maybe you lost a job and you're in the midst of financial hardship. Perhaps you're having marital problems or strife in a relationship. Maybe you're suffering abuse. God gave you pastors for those moments of distress. They come and they speak to you the promises of God that shine like an especially bright light when the world around us grows dark and dim. In fact, if you call your pastor in a moment of distress, you might learn the unexpected truth that God draws especially near to those who are suffering. Sometimes we call this the theology of the cross, and by that we mean how unexpected it is the way that God works in this world. That had you been there as an observer on the day when Jesus died and you had seen him hanging on the cross, you would have seen nothing but shame and weakness and death, a pathetic figure. With the eyes of faith, though, you understand what's really going on there on the cross and how God was powerfully working there in a hidden way, but powerfully working our salvation. In Jesus' death, he was bringing life to this whole world. By his suffering, he was assuring us of never-ending relief from suffering with him in the joys of heaven. It was unexpected what happened there at the cross. But the same thing is true for us in our suffering. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't feel like it. We don't experience it this way. But the promises of God are all the more true and all the more important when we are suffering. God works through that suffering to draw us to himself. When we are weak and powerless and lying in a hospital bed, we realize all the more how everything depends on Jesus, on he who bore our infirmities and carried our sorrows. In fact, God works through those moments to remind us of that, to draw us back to the cross of Christ so that we cling to it ever more tightly, so that we realize that our true life, our true peace, and his true answer in the midst of all suffering is found in his Son, Jesus Christ, in whom every promise that God makes is yes, and by whom we have hope for an everlasting future free of illness and free of all distress. Of course, it's really easy to talk about these things in theory when you're not actually suffering. It's so much harder to remember and believe it when you're the one who's been knocked flat on your back. But that's why God gave you pastors, so that you're not alone in moments of distress, so that you can call us up and we can come and you can be reminded about how God draws near to you in your suffering, how his grace is sufficient for you, how his power really is made perfect in weakness. In moments of distress, your pastors will be there with the promise of God, the gospel, with the great good news of what he has done for us. And like a light shining in the darkness, it'll be wonder and joy to fill our eyes, no matter how gray and dim everything else might be around us. So in moments of illness or distress, call your pastor. It's why God gave you a pastor, to be the one to speak his promises to you, to bring Christ into hospital rooms and strained relationships and the most difficult and trying of circumstances.